Hello and welcome to Talk of the Town, the Port Adelaide Premiership champion. Hello, Warren Tredrea.
Mr. Costello, how are you this afternoon?
Magnificent, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome the Chief Football Reporter of the Nine Network, fresh off, well, a big few days, breaking the story that the AFL had a positive test in Conor McKenna. Sammy McClure, come in.
Hello, Seb. Good to see you. I can't quite see Warren. His screen is a bit sort of up, and it's difficult to see the shine off his bonce against the white wall. So if we could just...
Hey, isn't it amazing? You break a story, you got a wobble, you haven't done your hair, you roll in with looks like someone's jacket you found at an op shop, but that's all right. We're all inclusive in this.
What is old is new again, Warren. You need to embrace the youth of today.
Playing
Not Pooh Parkers, but that's all right.
Playing the role of Hugh Greenwood, Sam McClure, and the role of Mark Rasciuto, Warren Tredrea. It's great to have you both here.
I'm off Twitter. I'm staying off Twitter.
Oh, my. Oh, yeah.
Look, Sam, let's start with you because I'm confused, and I'd love if you could just drag us through the fog as to what is Conor McKenna's status at the moment and what happened with those tests.
Yeah, well, I mean, his status at the moment is he's negative. He's all clear. But Brett Sutton, the Chief Health Officer of Victoria, said that he will still have to quarantine for 14 days, as will James Stewart, who is the only one in the investigation that was found to have close contact with him. It is a bizarre one, Seb. The medical people that I've spoken to have said they've never really seen anything like it, but it is possible to have such a small portion of the virus in your body that you can have these irregular tests. Is what happened on Friday. He then had another one, tested positive, and 2 days later, on the Tuesday, he has tested negative. It's absolutely bizarre, but as you can imagine, the health authorities still don't want to take any further risks. Now, I can tell you today that Essendon are still hopeful with both McKenna and Stewart that if they continue to test negative while in quarantine, that they hopefully won't have to spend the full 14 days. I think good luck arguing that with Brett Sutton, but, I mean, they might as well try. And it's a really good result, not only for Essendon, but for the competition. We went from the whole 2020 season being on a knife's edge to Essendon really not having to miss any players against Carlton. I mean, yes, McKenna might have come back. He hasn't played yet. Stewart has been out of favour for a while now. So we're still going to see a really good contest against two of the oldest rivals in the comp, Seb, albeit with no crowd.
It's interesting. I have followed this disease as a journalist from when it started in the Hubei province of China, but it wasn't until it got to the hangar that I heard about a low-grade positive test. I didn't know there were degrees of this thing. Anyway, Tredders, what are you making of all of this?
I think there's degrees of it when you only want to find minor degrees to keep your season going. Is it okay being the devil's advocate here? Can a positive become a negative to become a positive? But we're all positive. He can play. You're beauty.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that will think this looks... The optics of this don't really make
dodgy.
sense.
It looks dodgy. Let's face it. It looks dodgy. I hope it's not. We'd assume it's not. The government's involved. The AFL's involved. But, geez, it's not sure when it's yes, it's no, it's yes. But we're okay. We're positive. We're positively negative. It sounds like Donald Trump's press conference a few weeks ago. I've had a positively negatively test.
I tell you what, Seb and Tred, is that the weirdest thing about all of this for me is the investigation that found only one other player came into close contact. Now, Seb, as you said, you've been following this as a journalist since it started. Close contact, according to the Australian health officials, the Department of Health, is 15 minutes face-to-face or 2 hours in a closed environment. But I thought, Seb, that actual contact went way and beyond all of that and made the other categories superfluous. I mean, that's why we've all been told not to shake hands, right? That's why we've all been told to keep our 1.5 metres distance. And then, Channel 9, I think in Adelaide and Victoria, Tredders had footage of Conor McKenna touching and tackling and hugging teammates at training, which is completely normal when you're training. But I automatically thought once he touched those players that they would have been deemed as close contact. Anyway, it's a good result for Essendon. It's a good result for the competition.
Yeah, and as I say, that doesn't go that well when you're standing next to someone. And albeit, boys, and sorry to be the devil's advocate and the person who doesn't quite smell the roses on this one, the player they found to come into contact hasn't played for how long in the league team? Over a year ago?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Only kidding.
There were a few people...
Like a tissue, Warren. You just look like you needed something there. No.
You can always use a sleeve. Cough into your elbow, isn't that the go?
That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, yes, no, Sam, you make a good point. We're told we're not even supposed to touch our face, let alone other people's bodies.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, among the fallout to this was some pretty strong words from the likes of David King, a comment he since retracted, but he, I think, did sort of call for some pretty heavy sanctions on McKenna. It's prompted this tweet in part from James Sicily of Hawthorn. I'll flash that up now. The tweet reads, "Would love to see some accountability from the media. No concern for welfare or privacy. I'd hope a few apologies are in order. Appalling." Tredrea says, our ex-player. James is going pretty hard there. Valid, over the top. What do you make of that?
Oh, which world we live in here? We live in the precious world or the crazy world? I think sometimes we're also just looking for content and things to talk about, whether it's poor form or good form. I just think at the end of the day, once we can sort it all and move forward, it'll be better. I know you want more of a fight up, but I'm actually exhausted by this whole process. And I want to get to the real topic, which is coming up very, very soon.
That didn't answer the question at all, Warren. That
No,
was a real AFL question, sort of answer to a question of just darting around it and not actually giving an answer.
That's okay. I'm happy with that.
I got a lot of respect for the players. I actually on Twitter recanted something I said on Footy Classified about whether there was multiple or whether there was one. I got that part wrong. Happy to say that. But as far as accountability, and by the way, I think that we in the media should be as accountable as we are to the players who are accountable for poor form and for making mistakes, and we write about. So I'm fully on board there. But as for privacy, I'm not sure what James is trying to get at. Now, if a journalist broke a story saying that Conor McKenna had tested positive for coronavirus, and that story was wrong, he hadn't tested positive at all, well, then I think that he is absolutely required to apologise, to recant. There may even be legal action for that. But, you know, we're all dealing with this virus across the world. The AFL has completely changed the face of the league in 2020 based on the virus. We've had our first player test positive after having an irregularity. He's essentially tested positive twice. Of course, it's in the public interest. You know, we've had another player go into quarantine. As far as privacy, I've got to disagree with James on that one.
Yeah, and also too, I'll get off my fence. We only look at 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago in Adelaide where Ollie Wines broke protocol. So is that closely governed here to get the game going? We know there's a bigger health issue above it. If there's any sign of irregularity, as you mentioned, or any sign of a player may or may not be doing the right thing, or then again, if it comes towards a positive, which results in the game being held back, I think it's fair game.
Yeah.
Let's move on to crowds. So the West Australian government started by saying that they would be welcoming 30,000 people into Optus Stadium, just no matches are scheduled yet, and they'd be moving out to 60,000 by mid-July. The South Australian government has followed suit. They say, I think 25,000 can go to the Adelaide Oval from Monday. Again, no matches scheduled in the immediate future. But it's prompted a question that if Victoria is behind the 8 ball on this, and the MCG isn't likely to be allowing mass crowds by grand final day, or should we be going elsewhere for the grand final? Warren, as our South Australian man, give us the pitch, 45 seconds, however long you need to tell us why we should make history and have the grand final at the Adelaide Oval this year.
Well, I'll go even better for you, boys. I'll give you a pitch for all non-Victorians. Well, at the end of the day, COVID's out of control in your state. You can't control it. We're watching a TV product on the AFL is far inferior to anything we've ever seen because we're putting up banners of clubs instead of having fans in there. And this is not against South Australia, Victoria, but this is also a fact that the AFL is hemorrhaging money. Right, so you have a deal that goes for 190,000 years at the MCG for the grand final to be played. That was pretty much set up without any other state knowledge, non-Victorian clubs knowledge, which is fair enough. Full credit to the Andrews government for getting the deal done. But this year is totally different. Are we going to sit and watch a grand final at the MCG? And if the Superiors say yes, well, we sit back and cop it. But it's going to be empty. Let's face it, it's going to be a long time with the recent breakout of COVID. 19 cases in various parts of Victoria where they're actually going to allow fans in the MCG, albeit 50% of fans to make it sound good. So the point is, with South Australia and Western Australia in a very good position, where South Australia hasn't had a case for over a month, they've had 2 cases in about 3 months. And the situation sits quite unbelievably that there are no live cases. So if there is a situation where in 4 months' time, they're able to host a grand final, why wouldn't you play it in front of a full stadium? That ticks, for example, giving the AFL over, $5.3 million for an Adelaide Oval or $6 million in Perth at Optus Stadium fans are going to pay $100 a ticket, double it if it's $200 a ticket, and all of a sudden governments can get involved and actually court them to come in, like both the West Australian government did last year. The South Australian government is set to do this year with the State of Origin coming to town for the first game. So I just sit there and go for, one, a commercial aspect. It makes sense. Fans who wouldn't normally get the opportunity to come in South Australia and Western Australia because of affordability or their team playing gets to experience a grand final. And 3, the AFL and the VIA, the MCG and Victoria, for various health reasons, cannot service. What we need is a full stadium. And I get that it's going to be a South Australia versus everyone, or West Australia, everyone versus everyone argument. But I sit back and go, the TV product doesn't look anywhere near as good. It is our showcase event. And if we can fill a stadium that is legally with all health tick-offs from either Western Australia or South Australia, it's an absolute no-brainer to do it if Victoria can't deliver on the concept.
Very well argued. May have extended beyond the 45-second time limit. Sam, are you there?
Oh, sorry, I thought you get 45 seconds. I just dozed off after 6 minutes. Is it going to interfere with the pageant, Warren?
Yeah, because you're going to be on the lead float. So long as we can get you across, put you in 2 weeks quarantine, I will tell you what, there will be a talk of the town pageant float if the game comes to the Adelaide Oval. And I know I don't have to ask Seb because he's already wants to be on the float, whether the game comes or not. Yep. Sam, will you join us?
Would we quarantine at the Barossa Valley or would we quarantine in hotels?
No, too soon. Adelaide's struggling at the moment, and you don't need to pick on them anymore.
Adelaide isn't struggling at the Crows, right? The beautiful city of Adelaide isn't struggling. I think a grand final at the Adelaide Oval would be absolutely sensational. If we can have a packed house, of all the grounds that I've been to around the world, I think the Adelaide Oval is the one ground that you feel something special. Obviously, the MCGs, the Coliseum in Australia. Optus Stadium, I haven't actually got to at the moment. All the reports are it's a wonderful venue. But the Adelaide Oval, there's something spiritual about that place. I think if we can have crowds there and not in Victoria, it would be a brilliant place for the last day in, November, December, whatever it's going to be.
Well, we know that the Indian cricket team is coming and potentially going to have a hub and could be back-to-back tests at the Adelaide Oval or may boast themselves there. If it's good for what we could say is a little precious Indian cricket team, then it's good enough for everyone else.
Yeah, the BCCI, if it's good enough for them, Treaders, is one of the most powerful sporting organisations on the planet.
We might play the Adelaide Test the day after the AFL Grand Final. Done. Lock it away, Stephen Marshall.
People have accused the Chinese of starting the pandemic. I'm wondering if it's the South Australian government, if it's going to deliver all these...
Hey. Just because they've played everyone on a fiddle, I'll tell you what, it's dead set. Darren Lehman back in his heyday, the Vicks bowler's coming in and he's just flipping them over the fence. That's Stephen Marshall. Whack.
Yeah, we can see why Treaders wasn't a cricketer.
Yeah. And I'm not a left-hander. I don't know why I was going that way.
Okay, sure things, gentlemen. I don't want to spend too much time on the ladder here, but every round we pick a team that we say is a sure thing. Can we flash up the ladder? Oh, okay. In last place.
Oh, wow.
In equal last place, Warren Tredrea and that Seb Costello at the top with 3 so far.
Yep.
Anyway.
I thought you were talking the real ladder because Port Adelaide's top of the pops, boys. Yeah. That's all that matters.
The Bombers haven't even played 3 games and we're still in the top 8. That's a good effort. Sam, do you have a sure thing for this week?
The fact that both of you, are so one-eyed in your support of a club when you should be objective journalists.
I am objective.
Unbelievable.
Sam, you eat your own when they're no good. Anyone will tell you that.
Well,
I just look.
He lives near me, Sam. And when Eddie Betts laid that tackle on Saturday night in the centre square, I could hear Sam screaming from about three streets away.
It was actually more like a squeal. I could hear it from Adelaide.
I was actually huddled behind a couch like this, watching it. It was unbelievable.
He's in the fetal position, thinking, "Oh no, we're gonna lose again."
That's exactly what I was thinking, word for word. The Brisbane Lions will not lose against the Adelaide Crows.
Gutsy move.
Yeah, real gutsy.
Yeah. All right. What do you got, Treaders?
Oh, certainty. God, I'm trying to... Now you've taken my one. Not bad.
What about the Suns? Surely.
Cats
over the Demons. I like that. And didn't Collingwood have a
little bit of... Not confident at all, but I'll take the Cats.
I'll take the Pies. So if we can just flash up that leaderboard again, just to remind us who's winning this. Fantastic. All right, take the leaderboard down because it's time for the Social Club, where we examine a heartwarming piece of social media. And this is from the feel-good story of 2020, the Gold Coast Suns telling a young man he's the rising star for round 3.
Mr. Budrick, just got to test you here, mate. There's been a rumour out.
Oh, great.
What does it say?
Yeah, you had me there.
First academy selection, mate. Well done.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Well done, Butters.
Thanks, mate. I'm
Great.
still half asleep a bit.
Great news.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You're also having a temperature reader, so you're all good as well.
Sweet.
Long.
Well done, mate.
That was well done. Go on.
Yeah, no, I thought that, thinking about that all day.
Must have been your goal got you over the line.
Probably. Little sneaky one.
That's it. No, well done. We can't shake your hand or anything.
No.
Very nice there. Your old mate Stewie Drew Treaders making a young man's day.
Yeah, it looks pretty tough up there on the Gold Coast, doesn't it? Everyone else is locked in a hub. They're sitting on a deck. Looks like a beautiful golf course. And they get a rising start. I'll tell you what, they are the success story so far of the competition. It is great to see. And finally, after everyone slinging you-know-what at them for the last 5 or 6 years, players leaving, they look like they're finally starting to stick. And they're playing like a team who's just got no worries in the world.
They're good. Do we see him on a Friday night pretty soon, Sam?
Gee, I've never seen the media turn quickly in 2 weeks from a basket case to put them on Friday nights. I wouldn't put them on Friday nights just yet. You know, I think the AFL have said we want to make teams earn it. However, it is the season to try things in 2020, so anything's possible. But Conor Budrick, a really good story, Treaders, and from the beautiful coastal South Australian town of Roe. He really showed something on the weekend. So, you know, let's hope that the Suns can... I tell you what, if in 10 weeks' time we can say that the Suns are some sort of chance, even if they have to win every game, some sort of chance of making the 8, wouldn't that be something?
Absolutely, especially when you're only playing 17 games for the year. That makes it a hell of a lot easier to make the finals, doesn't it?
Yep.
You got a chance. Well, coming to a pageant float near you in South Australia, this has been Talk of the Town to the Port Adelaide Premiership champion, Warren Tredrea. Thank you.
No worries, just going to get my uniform all sorted right now. And I'll actually dress you boys as well. So look out, send through your sizes.
Just 1XL, thanks, Treaders. Sammy McClure, the chief football reporter of the Nine Network, fresh off a big week, breaking the Conor McKenna story. See you next week, Sam.
38 slim, thank you, Warren.
Oh, jeez. Talk of the Town. See you next week.